Welcome everybody to this week's episode of the Huddle. We come at you every Tuesday to discuss maintaining forward progress in your flooring career. This week's a little bit of a little different of a huddle. I'm hoping that we can get some participation because the question is, how's your schedule looking? How far out are you booked? It was pretty easy or pretty simple topic, but I'm just curious on, how installers' schedules look at this time of the year and what kind of backlogs we're all dealing with, not necessarily just as the company, but kind of overall. So it's a good way. We're coming up at the year end here. I think our next huddle, we're going to talk about goals, either the next huddle or the huddle after that, talk about how to set, real goals. And I know we've done that before, but it seems pretty fitting coming up to the end of the year. So join me as always is Daniel and Jose from Preferred Flooring out of Michigan. Gentlemen, how you doing today?
Doing great.
Good. Good. So how's the installation market schedule in your guys' area? Do you know how your subs are handling? Is it busy? Is it slowing down a bit?
Yeah, we've been slowing down quite a bit over here in our area. Mainly on some of the negotiated work has been a little bit slow, right? But there's a lot of bids coming across, but the bids don't do us any good right now. And if we weren't winning bids a few months ago, then then a little bit of a lull right now for that as well. But it's this time of year. It's I don't want to say it's always like this because it's not always like that, but this is the time of year where it's a little bit of a lull, and then all of a sudden, right before the holidays or during the holidays, everybody wants everything done.
Yeah, your shutdown work. Do you guys do a lot of shutdown work? Like just over whether it's a school,
Restaurants, yeah, we
yeah.
got a couple of restaurants that are going to be happening around the holidays. It's the only time that they can really justify shutting down for a week to take care of some loose ends. I had some other things scheduled for the holidays, but we were able to move them up, and the schools were able to accommodate a schedule sooner than later. So it actually helped out a lot.
Awesome. Well, I'd say that the bid market seems to slow down pretty well, but if you captured the right jobs at the right time in the past, you're probably still busy right now installing and moving materials and all that good jazz. So, I mean, we're ordering materials and setting jobs up. We got a few shutdown jobs, but overall, I was just looking at the schedule in Go Carerra that kind of shows where a lot of installer schedules. It appears, to be slowing down a little bit. And I think I've hit on this before, but the architectural billings look to be good through 2023. So commercially, it looks like it's still going to be somewhat busy. A major world event could change that. So, be on the lookout. We're kind of in some weird times from a world economic and political stance. So we'll see if the stats I've heard that the architectural billings are maintaining through 2023 could spell another decent year here. So talked to a few installers in prep for this, and there are some guys sitting a little bit more around right now. So
great time to get some education classes in.
What's that?
Great time to get some education classes in, some training, some hands-on. Use your downtime wisely if you planned it correctly.
No doubt. That's a great point. Yeah, it'd be a good time if you are a little bit slow to join in on some of the FCICA webinars. That I know there's RDEX is always doing different webinars, and I don't know off the cuff of some that are coming up, but I do know that, you know, there's constant training there. And then there's some courses, CFI is constantly running stuff. You can always go to our training page that stays fairly up to date with new trainings, and, you know, opportunities for you guys. So I wanted to mention the Forward Progress SIM scholarship again. I'll do that every week until we get us a winner. But when does that stop, Ashlyn? Is the deadline for, so December 15th is the deadline for applications for that scholarship. So if you guys you know anybody, or if you've received the email from FCICA, feel free to forward that on, or the email from Go Carerra. Please forward that on to anybody who may be interested, outside of Daniel or I. And so yeah, pass it around, and I know several people have already applied for that scholarship. So
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to handing that out, and hopefully starting something where we can maybe, we're pretty committed to doing that every year, but hopefully be able to do even maybe a little bit more, maybe 2 of them a year. We'll see how it gets received by the audience and by installers. So specifically, I'd like to see an installer win this thing. I don't have a lot of control over that, but the installer group does. If you'll go and apply for the scholarship, it's free. I mean, go apply and win, and take the opportunity to learn something that you're not going to be taught in your standard technical training. This is a lot of those soft skills we've talked about on the huddle before, and it's a good training. We have several CIMs at our company, at our flooring company, and I know Daniel's going to be one, and I'm going to join him. We're going to make sure we're together on that.
Eventually,
That
eventually,
way I
one of these days we'll be over there.
then I can cheat off of him. No, I'm just kidding.
That's funny. They're
So
actually nipping it right now too. So there's going to be a little more streamlined process. I want to say, instead of the longer drawn out version of the educational portions. So hopefully it turns out well.
you guys working on that? Is that what you said?
Yeah. I've been working on it with Amy Johnson just a little bit. I mean, I think a little bit behind schedule because we got to get some PowerPoints together and approved. But I know that there's several people working on creating a better version of it to expedite the educational portion.
That's cool, because you know, I've read through most of the stuff that our CIMs brought back after the, you know, they did their 3-day. That's one heck of a program as is. So kudos for making it even better. So I wish you guys the best on that for sure. That's awesome. Okay, so CIM, don't forget, get on forward if you've received the email from FCICA or Go Carerra, please forward that on, and let's get as many people the opportunity to win this this scholarship as possible. That being said, I guess the point of this is, you know, we're always talking about how short it is. I'm just curious, is what happens, what in your guys' opinion, what happens if you add 6,000 or 7,000 installers? Are we still just better off in the busy times than a lot of guys sitting around? That's a controversial statement to bring up, but I'm curious your guys' opinion of that. We say we're, you know, 6, 8, 10,000 short, and I believe that stat. And I actually believe it's going to be way worse than that, meaning when we start aging out, I mean, we've already started, but really then this next 5 years, you're going to see a big decline, I believe. But at this point, if we were to add, say, 8,000 installers across the nation, would it just help in the busy times, or is there enough work out there? And again, just this could be a really short huddle because if we don't get a lot of participation, we're not going to have a lot of material to work off of. But that being said, what do you guys think about that? Do you think that we need like this 8,000 number that I keep hearing and that we've heard over the last several years? Or is it a matter of we're just used to working so hard and so many hours in flooring that we'd actually have a normal life and that would be okay? Or what's your guys' take?
Go ahead, Daniel.
Well, I still want to say that one of the biggest issues is getting the costs up where they need to be in order to sustain everything that you need to, because there's too many guys out there that, and we say it constantly, right? They pretty much just own a job and that's all they're doing. So they're not taking care of themselves. They're not getting their health care, which means that they're not going to the doctors on a regular basis, which means that if they do hire someone, they're hiring them wrong. So how do we get the rates up to the point to where people can comfortably do this and do things right at the same time? Because I mean, healthcare and this stuff goes hand in hand, and well, I'll say it again, I will continually say it. I should have been in the doctors a long time ago, should have been wearing knee pads from day one, like we have our guys do. Should have, we have, cut resistant gloves on the shelf just in case anyone wants to. It's a lot that goes in it that a lot of people don't really take into consideration. And some of the organizations out there keep on pushing like how much money you can make and throwing out these ridiculous numbers. But I mean, that's only gonna, if it does bring them in, it's only gonna take them so far. That could, because as soon as you get the full scope of kind of what the industry entails, it's like, man, this is not what I thought it was going to be, right? So I
Well,
think,
I think it's sorry to interrupt, but I think it's important that we what the point you just brought up is worthy of a little deeper dive. Is we throw these big numbers out, but you have to realize that those numbers are really, if you own a job, I don't necessarily think that you owning your job is a bad thing, as long as you're valuing the trainings and you're valuing what you are providing and providing that at a worthwhile cost, and take into account the education and the professionalism. If you're acting like a true professional and you are a professional floor covering installer, that is then you can make a lot of money. I think what we're talking about though is that the organizations take numbers from current, say, subcontract installers, professional guys, but not talking about the amount of time or effort or hours that they are putting in. What I would love to see in this industry is a more hourly, even though Go Carerra really is built for more of the independent, but also just making sure that the independent labor on the market is held accountable to quality expectations, education expectations, those kinds of things, so that the industry can become healthier from a physical health standpoint, a financial standpoint. And you mentioned, like insurance and stuff like that. I mean, there's if you even have a health savings account, right, an HSA as a sub, which at the very least I would recommend you do. There's a lot of financial benefits to doing that. But the point is, you gotta make enough money to put it in there.
Right.
So when they talk these numbers, they're not talking about a lot of the people they're talking to, say a subcontractor, say, yeah, I made 350 last year. And the question is, is any of that put back? Have they taken care of do they have health insurance and those kinds of things? Like, and if so, then you really got to take that away from that 350. Like I could say we did 12, 15 million last year. Well, it's not like I got $15 million in the bank account. You know what I mean? So just making the numbers actually realistic and real. So, and then your rally cry, Daniel, look, if you're an employee, demand to be paid on a W-2 and have the same benefits as whoever else is there on payroll at the company that you're at. If you're a 1099, you are your own guy, and you got to take care of yourself, and you got to have the money to do so. So make sure you're charging appropriately.
Right. And like you said, it's not a bad thing to own a job. A lot of guys like working just by themselves, and that's totally fine. I mean, uh, even, in the field, a lot of the times it's like, you guys just go do your thing, and then I'm gonna go do mine over here, work by myself, because I need that peace. And I can understand where a lot of people would just want to work by themselves. And if that's what you want to do, there's definitely, ways you can make a great living, and flooring is one of them.
Yeah. But I still echo your sentiment. Still take care of yourself. And if you're working alone, it's going to be a lot harder on your body. But I think one of the biggest plagues, and you brought it up, it's not 1099 subcontractor installers. It's those subcontractors hiring people and then paying them as 1099. That is the piece where you get a third tier. That's where it starts to get really messy and quality control gets lost. We've had it happen to us. We award a job to a sub, and then they have some other guy do it that works with them, but is a 1099 as well. Well, how many layers of 1099 are we going to go here? Like, you know what I'm saying? Someone's got to have employees. I'm happy to. We do have in-house employee benefited installers, but we also have subs. I would love for those subs to have employee installers that they are somehow incentivized to make sure that their employees are trained. That used to be what the companies did. Now that the subs are out there so heavily and have been for 20, going on 20 years here, they really need to hire employees and make sure they're charging enough to make sure that employee can be taken care of. So if you have one helper, that helper should be paid on a W-2. It benefits you greatly, although you still then you have to pay taxes and those kinds of things, payroll taxes. But it's really not that difficult if you just get an accountant that can help you out a few $100s a year and can help you, tote a straight line. So yeah, that's where I see, that's a little off subject, obviously, but that's where I see where
It's what we do on here, things
Yeah.
play off of each other.
yeah.
But when you do have employees, right? Because we're focused on how the schedule is right now, and it has lately it's been essentially hit or miss, and I think we've been a little lucky to have some things fall in our lap. But for the past, like last week, we had the guys in here, and we brought the training boxes down, and it's like, we got time. You guys are this is the material you're going to work with, and essentially go in this box, and what we're looking for is perfection. So if you're going to present me with anything less than perfection, let's do it again.
Yeah, that's awesome. Those over this time of year is typically when our training module gets the most activity as well. A guy has a day off, instead of him taking PTO, if he wants to not use his time off and wants to work, we'll put him in the module and have him, some of the really good guys, we'll put him with someone else to train him for the day in the module. And we'll use some leftover sheet vinyl, carpet, whatever, and wall tile. We've installed everything in that doggone module. So So
Yep.
now's, I guess, now's a great time to train. If
It
you're a
is, and
company out
then
there, get your employees
you're talking
into,
about kind of the people that had stuff going on. If you look at the NAFCT, they actually have an online course for their subfloor and substrate, and it gets really in depth on some stuff. I mean, like, I've been doing this for 20 something years, right? And when we went through this, I was like, man, I never knew this information. And like, it's things that the science behind everything that you wouldn't even think of if, you're just doing it forever. You would actually have to go super in depth. And it kind of gives you that background, like this material is this way because of this. And if you see this on, wood, that's because it's made this way. That means it's going to grow more this way than it would the other way. And it gets very, very in depth. And I would encourage everyone to take that just for, it's great knowledge.
and which one is that?
That is,
The subfloor and substrate prep.
yep.
So there's one coming up in Stockton, California.
So I think the way they have it set up is it's videos online. You watch the videos, you take the test, and then the actual in-person stuff is only a 1 day deal where you go show up, and then that's when you're able to
But
get
you
your
had to have taken the written portion first, correct?
Correct.
Yep.
So it looks
Hey,
like
guys.
pretty simple, just like you said, Daniel. It's sign up for the certification program, and you can just go to nafct.com and then click on training and go to calendar classes, and then you can click on any of those trainings, and it'll
Right.
tell you right there
You were actually at the first in-person one that they did in Ohio, right at Jason Goldberg's place, and it was real nice to see like all the different prep manufacturers working with each other, knowing that everyone's getting along. You got, a Mapei guy mixing stuff in an Ardex bucket, and it was great to watch everyone kind of interact. That you think, well, this is a competitor. Well, it's just another tool in the toolbox, man. There's
yeah.
places for everyone out there, and everyone has their favorite, but you always need something else because at some point your favorite's going to be like, oh yeah, we're not going to cover that.
Yeah, well, and they all realize each one has some unique products. So, there are certain things Shernox has that Mapei doesn't, and vice versa, and Ardex has that no one has. And so it's good to know that the manufacturers work together. I got a question for you, Daniel. Can you take the online version and then go to any of the in-person hands-on?
I believe so. I think so. I'm not sure,
That's convenient. If it
but
works that
I
way,
think
that's
that's how
really
it's set
cool.
up. So you
That's
can do everything online, and then once you're finished with that, you can be like, oh, this one's next month, right in my hometown. So that's the one I'm going to go to.
so go get the written portion done. And even if it's several months away from one in your area being performed, do the written one and be prepared for your in-house. Sorry, I was looking at this the different dates. Yeah, there's several on November 16th from Calhoun, Garland, Texas, and Stockton, California. So yeah, it's cool if you can go on and complete the online portion of it, and then go to the one that's closest to you. So a few hours of dead time can be used to learn something new, and or even kind of strengthen what you may already know, and then get prepared for the substrate and floor prep. Now, I would say that class also qualifies for a badge in Go Carerra, which is cool. The purpose of badges is, obviously you may be great at carpet or whatever, but if you're doing Flash Cove sheet vinyl or sheet vinyl or LVT or any of that stuff, I want to see that you got self-leveling floor prep badge, because that badge tells me you've been through a couple of courses teaching you the chemistry, which is, I think, the piece that you can't, it's difficult to learn the chemistry piece outside of a training, an education from the manufacturers.
You know, unfortunately, a lot of people learn the science behind everything after something fails instead of before. And that's the sad truth, and that's a hard pill to swallow. But we've been on the learning side of that, both sides. Yeah, it is what it is, right? It's how
Yeah.
you get better. But hey, I wanted to go back to the original question and the subject. When you said earlier, you said because of these slow times, do we really need 8,000? Are we really short 8,000 or whatever number installers? And this is theoretical, right? And it's just, I feel like, yes, we are short, but we're short qualified individuals, not just an installer got a van and some tools. We're short qualified people who are doing quality work, because that's what's disappearing, is the 20 years, 30 years, 40 years experience is what we're losing. And we're gaining the 2 years doing residential carpet. Now I'm going to start my own commercial flooring business. You know what I mean? That's, I think that's what's really watering our industry down. And that's what hurts is what will it do to the market if we had 8,000 more qualified installers? You know, part of me thinks that like something would happen where now work is scarce and now we have to compete against one another. But the other part is like, I wonder how many businesses, how many owners, how many places aren't accepting bids or changing when they're doing work because they can't find the qualified people. How many people are pushing it off until the next year, and it just piles on and piles on.
Or they just don't bid a specific type of flooring because they don't have the expertise to do
Right.
it. That'd be interesting. But you bring up a good point. I wonder, you know, when you talk about good quality guys, like I know we preach training and education on here. That's because that's how there's only two ways to learn. You either have to have an amazing person ahead of you that's willing to teach you, and so your experience turns into you learning, or you have some experience that you marry with actual training. Like, the only way you get better at anything is doing it and learning it, like education and expertise or experience. So I guess all that being said, yeah, you have, when we talk about losing or aging out on some of the older installers, you are losing that 20, 30 years, and you're gaining less, I hate to say it, less experience, less qualified, really, installer group. I guess the question is, if we did have, say, 8,000, do supply and demand economics come into it? So we're already talking about not getting paid enough. In what atmosphere is it going to take for prices to go up then? Because if supply and demand economics are at play, then lower supply on the installer side, more demand in the need should equal to higher wages, period. It should bring that up. And then you swap that and you get enough installers to do it on a 40-hour week, increased competition, increased supply. Does that drive prices down?
I guess it depends on the market and the area, right? What time of year is it? Are you going after commercial, residential? Are you doing educational? Are you doing healthcare? I mean,
how about this for an answer? If they've invested in themselves and spent money on training and certifications and education, they're less likely to take a job for super cheap and drive prices down. So if they're highly qualified and trained, and they have there's a barrier of entry. I just wish there was a more, that's what Go Carerra is trying to be, is some barrier of entry that encourages guys and gals, installers in general, to get trained and certified to increase their hammer rating to qualify for more work. That's the whole spiel, right? So if that's it, then there's the installers who are putting forth the money and the time to go pay for a training, be at a training, or, you know, take an online course and then go to a training. It's the guys that don't have that are going to, in my opinion, they're going to drive down the price. And I was part of the problem when I first started. So I know this is how it happens. I mean, I'd only been doing it for a year, probably less when, well, yeah, about, I guess it'd be maybe 3 years total before I went out and started subbing. I had no business doing that. And I charged way too less of a price, way too low of a price. And the purpose was I wanted to get work and put food on the table.
Yeah.
But at that point, I hadn't taken any training. I hadn't gotten any certifications. So the young Paul Stuart is the problem of the industry.
And I think that's where everyone gets their start if they're starting on the installation side anyway. Unless they are working for, I mean, they're not a subcontractor, they're working as an employee or for a union. They have, the union's got a lot of programs in place just for them, and that's awesome. And I don't know of too many people that said, I left the union to start my own. You know what I mean? They're comfortable, right? But it's the entrepreneur spirit that forces someone's mental to take that lateral movement and walk alongside of the people they learned with, to try to start their own future. And unfortunately, we did the same thing. We started, we didn't know, right? No matter how much practice we got, how many questions we had, every answer was different. We didn't know what to charge. So you start, and then you start finding out
We ain't charging enough.
you charging enough, we're not
You see that
sustaining.
money leaving, and you're like, yeah, maybe we gotta rethink these prices.
If we can get enough people on here participating, we have a decent audience. We're obviously trying to grow it here on the Huddle, but I would love to have that like disclosure, like transparent conversation with 10 or 15 installers on the Huddle about pricing and how they're going about it. And
Yeah.
I'm just
There's
curious.
a lot of things to factor in there. That's actually a good topic right there. Like,
Yeah, because we talk to people all across the US about pricing already, right? And people reach out to me on a regular basis, and even, you know, the local guys, and they're like, what do you guys get for this? What do you get for that? And it's like, I'm gonna tell them exactly what we're getting for it, because that's what I feel it's worth. Like, if you're not making this, doing this, stop doing it.
and some people are like, man, you don't charge enough. And some people are like, I can't believe you're getting that. And it's just,
Yeah, it's so regional.
yeah, I mean, yeah,
It's
from
so
labor
regional, and I still believe that the higher trained you are, I know my prices for some of the work after we get trained or we got certified or what have you, prices did go up. I just understood the value of what we were providing better after I had gotten educated. So I know we preach on it all the time, but I'm not stopping. We've got to get our industry, the health of our industry, better through training and education.
Yeah.
And we need to start bridging the gap, you know, with the actual stores, because a majority of the guys out there are subcontractors. And if we don't start bridging that gap, there's always going to be that disconnect between even just the salesman and his installers, because I've met, you know, project managers on job sites for local companies that we have said no to work before, but they get put in a spot, and they, you know, I show up and we're walking around the job, and he's like, well, what do you think of these prices? And I was like, yeah, we can't do it for that price. He was like, but I got someone else that says that, you know, they'll do carpet tile for $2 a yard. I said, why did you even call me here? And that's the disconnect that people have. It's like, at some point these stores gotta even talk to the guys and be like, listen, you're not charging enough for this. But they're too worried about padding their own pockets, because every time you go on the groups and, it's a majority of it is actually retail store owners. So they're doing a lot of residential, but that's the only thing they talk about is numbers, numbers, numbers. Got to hit this margin, got to hit that margin. And then the only time they bring up installation is when there's an issue. And then at that point, it's bash the installers, when in reality, it's maybe if you would have sold the right product, or if you would have hired the right people, you wouldn't be in the situation you are now.
And that goes to like some of the relationships that we have, and extremely transparent. Like I know that when we're hired for the labor portion, I understand 100% that they have to make money, and I am by no means trying to pick their back pocket. And some of it's give and take, right? Like I know that on this project right here, I know that I might not be able to recoup what I feel we've invested in some of the ads or the unforeseen conditions, but I know that I'll make it up with them on the next one or two. So I'm not concerned about that, and transparency is paramount. We're all in it to make money. We're not in it for practice. And if you're working with a company or a store that understands you guys and your value, then they have no problem sitting down and saying, hey, I'm in a bad spot at this number, or hey, can you help me out? Or hey, you know what? We did really good on this job. Here's a little bit extra, guys. And that's happened to us. And we're like, I'm not gonna say no.
Yeah, that's a funny dynamic. Have you ever had a GC call you, hey, you did a great job, guys, I'm going to give you an extra XYZ on this contract? That never happens.
I've never had a GC call me.
I've never in 20 something years ever had a GC. I've gotten compliments like, hey man, you guys did a great job, thanks for this guy or that guy, but never, hey, I know that's a $200,000 job, but I'm going to send you a change order for 10 grand just because you did so good. It doesn't work that way for the flooring company. So when it does work that way for a sub, that's a company just showing appreciation. But what I'd say is the installers in the industry just have to, and I know it's very regional, but you just have to value your body and your work and what you're providing. And I just find it, the guys that are not trained, that's how Go Carerra came to be, is when we started searching all over the nation for installers to do a big national account that we have. When it first came around in early 2017, we learned through hiring guys all over the nation that if we found a highly certified, highly trained guy, he was just better. And I'm not just talking about he was just better to deal with. I'm not saying that, there's plenty of outliers, guys who are not, how do I say this? Like formally trained. They learned from their uncle or whatever, so they're not formally trained, but they're awesome. There's plenty of those guys. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that over the course of going through this for years now and working with installers all over the nation, the guys who value themselves enough to go through the education process and get the trainings and certifications that matter to them, they value themselves more. We had to pay them more, but they also came through for us in a better situation, in a better manner than someone we were maybe taking a shot on. And that's how Go Carerra came to be, really. I mean, once you have that realization, then you put together, we decided to put together stuff that took the two main metrics, which is experience and training, and make them work together, built an algorithm to give a skill score. And that's where that all started. So, value yourself enough to charge appropriately is the bottom line. And that's what Daniel was, stabbing at. I mean, you didn't stab at it, you shot it with a rifle. I mean, you were clear that, value what and I'm not saying everybody should make the same as what you charge, Daniel. You're you're
No,
one of
and everyone should
better.
just make enough so that way they can run the business that they need to run, right? Whether it's the one man deal or if you have a crew of four, you need to be able to all make a living and have a little bit of profit at the end of the day. That way, when something happens, because not if something happens, when something happens, you need to have that cushion for later.
I wonder if a worksheet or a module that would allow an installer within Go Carerra to like put their average production and the product and the price that they charge a yard, and then we give them some expense categories to fill out, and it shows them how much they have to install on a daily basis to break even, where you actually see this is what your average taxes would be.
That's
This
actually
is
a
what
great
your
idea.
average
And
pay, one helper costs you, just use I'm
You
not
are
gonna,
the Excel king, so
what's that?
I said you are the Excel king. You're the wizard.
Yeah, we could build a module even based on Excel, honestly, but it would just be a web module that I don't
Right
know,
on the
something
website,
like
anyone can just go plug whatever they want in.
yeah, installer health and give a part to what discipline. So sheet vinyl. How much per yard do you charge? XYZ. Do you have, one employee at this amount? Um, and fill all that out. And then here's what your tax expense is gonna most likely be. Now, we're not financial advisors or accountants here, but you can look at the US tax code, and obviously it's going to change state by state, but from a US tax code, it's easy enough to say about what bracket you're in. And if you're in the 6-figure bracket in flooring, you're going to be at a 30 to 38% income tax. So, these aren't hard numbers to come
so
up with,
basically
but then
creating
you could see, well, what it would do is show you like, man, I'm not making, if I hire a guy the right way, I'm not making any money at $12 an hour on sheet vinyl or, whatever the number is. At 18, now I can make some money. I can pay my guy the way I should, pay my taxes, set a little bit aside for equipment and future purchases, and build a tool to help guys be more financially aware, just aware that I can't do it at $12 or I can't do it on carpet. I can't install carpet at $2, have a quality helper, pay my taxes, pay my insurance, pay my gas, pay my truck payment, and make a profit to take home to mama.
Right. We have Kendall on Facebook over here, and he says that what he's seen in his career as a residential carpet installer is that a lot of the guys now are actually switching over to hardwood and click together plank, and that leaves a lot of the new guys that don't know what they're doing coming in and messing a bunch of stuff up
On the carpet side,
but it's like that everywhere, I think, because we see it. We see people that have done, even the click together plank, and it's supposed to be a DIY thing, but they still don't pay attention to
folks, that shit is
manufacturer specifications.
It's none of it's DIY if you're not going to follow the instructions and understand how to accomplish the, like if it says to leave a 1/4-inch gap around all immovable vertical objects, so door frames and things like this, and you don't know how to cut correctly to give yourself a nice 1/4-inch gap around there. I mean, it's the simplest things, but it still takes hand skills to do, is my point. And a lot of the DIY stuff that's posed as DIY is straight from the manufacturer. I love you manufacturers, but you guys publish it that way so that more people will buy your stuff. They're not trained. So if they have a problem on the job, it's most likely coming back on them because they installed it themselves. You will definitely, because you find fault in professional flooring installers installation methods, you're
Well,
definitely going to be
the
able to
specs
find
are,
fault in a DIY person. So your exposure, your risk is so low when you when you uh when you advertise a product as DIY, and if it goes wrong, no skin off the manufacturer's back, really.
and that's, the specs are very broad, the limited warranty. I mean, it doesn't matter. They were to go through every single piece installed, they would find flaws in the most professional of installs ever. I mean, come on,
Well, that's my whole point is
yeah,
when you have a DIY slated product, that when somebody does it DIY, the possibility of it coming back on the manufacturer is pretty low, because I've been involved with claims and had to defend claims on guys who were highly certified, and we did it the right way, but the manufacturer still, I mean, this is, if any manufacturers on here listening, I'm sorry, but the first plug is to, what did the installer do wrong? The product failed. What did the installer do wrong? And it's not a real transparent investigation. You're looking what install wise was not done exactly to the T. But we don't get to do that to your manufacturing processes. We don't get to go in your manufacturing plant and say what conditions within the manufacturing plant were not exactly the way they should be during the manufacturing of this product. So long story short is DIY stuff, just what I'm getting at, it's pretty low risk for a manufacturer. And the fact is most DIY products have some level of complexity that really requires a pro. That's
Right.
just my opinion. I've watched too many products go in, click together. Oh, it looks so easy. And then a guy didn't know how to even cut in the last piece, or he started on the wrong side and started off incorrectly and had to take up the whole area and turn it around. And I mean,
Kendall says that he's seeing like a lot of the customers going to buy their stuff from the box store and then calling you to install it too. And it's like, that's where, as an installer, because Danny Sherman also says, you gotta make a living, right? It's a give and take to a certain degree as far as like talking to the salesman and stuff. And it's like that too. If you sell your own product and someone already has it, but you don't have work, that's putting work on the table, right? But that's when you have to know your numbers and know, all right, I'm not making money on the product, so I'm going to up my margins on the install side in order to be able to still have that little bit of a cushion.
yeah, you got to know your worth. And if you're a company that if you're an installer that supplies your own material, sometimes you buy from, one of the distributors or a box store, or you buy it from, Florida Core or whatever, and you supply materials sometimes. That's awesome. But you got to listen to Daniel. If you're working labor only, you got to make up some margin somewhere. I would just say know your worth. And even with that directive, that means guys that are not trained and don't have certifications, have not, put forth that effort. What they know their worth as is going to be lower than somebody who's invested several $1,000s and a lot of hours in getting certified and trained. So I think it's got to start with getting your education right. I know our education system in America gets a lot of, browbeating, but there's a reason you still start your life as soon as you're basically able to walk and communicate in an effective manner. You're going to school and learning things. And I think that as soon as you're able and willing to start your own flooring installation business, you should start with the basics and go get trained, get certified, and then your worth. That you will know your worth better by that. And like I always say, get to convention, talk to these guys, go talk to some other installers who know their worth, and know where you can charge, realizing the experience gap. Some new sheet vinyl guy should not go to Daniel and say, hey man, how much do you make a yard or a foot, whichever way, and try to make that. I mean, know your true worth. And if you're just getting going and you're highly certified, highly trained, you may be a little cheaper than someone's got 20 years of experience, but that's okay. As long as you're charging appropriately for the effort and time and
Still.
money that you've invested in yourself. I feel like if you got, I guess what I'm saying, I feel like if you got skin in the game by spending money and getting educated, that you're going to be more apt to ask for what you're worth than somebody who's going to be reluctant to do so because he knows he hasn't been properly trained. He knows he hasn't been properly educated on the systems, the adhesives, the ambient conditions, the concrete substrate conditions, what is a smooth floor, what is a flat floor, and understand all that stuff. So
There's definitely a lot of moving parts.
yep. All right, guys. Well, we're at the end here. That went longer than I was anticipating with the little bit lower participation this week, but as always, a great conversation. I hope anybody who's on, learned something. If you need anything, please reach out. If you have any questions about training or how to get trained, you're free to shoot me an email, paul@gocarerra.com. Either one of these guys, they've always been open to helping installers become better versions of themselves and, better installers overall. So you guys want to plug your best way to get in contact with you?
Just our first name at, Daniel or Jose at pfmi.team for the email. Local installers actually stop by here. I don't want to say too often, but enough to where, anytime they want to come by, it's like doors open. Come. We had someone show up the other day, he had a couple brand new guys, and it's him and his dad and his guys came in here and just, hey, come and take a look at what we got going on, take a look at how we kind of train the guys, the boxes that we use. And also I told him, I said, and if you ever want to bring your new guys here, you guys have some downtime, bring them over.
Dude, you guys are so awesome. I mean, I don't know how many people are on the call today, but if you don't understand what that is saying, these could be somewhat potential installers for you, but also potential competition. And you're trying to make the industry better by sharing best practices and showing people how to do things. That is fantastic.
It's the only way to be better as a whole, man. The only way.
Yep. Well, guys, thanks again for joining me. As always, it was a pleasure. It's funny how fast an hour goes when you start chatting and talking about things you're passionate about. So I appreciate you guys every single week, and we will see you guys next week, 3:00 Central Time on Tuesday. Come join us on the huddle, and hopefully we can all help each other to, like we talked on this call, improve the health of the industry, and specifically the installation portion of the industry. So signing out. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
All right. Have a good one.
See ya.